Welcome to BL Stories, where romance, drama, and unforgettable boys' love come to life. Love knows no limits, and the best stories aren't always straight. Subscribe now and join our growing BL-loving family. Chapter 12. After politely declining every offer from Molly to meet up later, I finally went home and headed straight to bed. Sunday passed slowly, either lounging around or doing homework, and before I knew it, Monday morning had arrived. Time to get ready for our history trip. The weather was noticeably cooler. I dressed in dark jeans, a long-sleeved black t-shirt, a gray zip-up hoodie, and my Timberland boots. Zipping up my hoodie, I made my way downstairs where Luke was waiting. I grabbed my backpack with my lunch, and together we walked to school, meeting Sam along the way. When we arrived, the bus for the trip was waiting, already lined up with the 2 history classes. I said goodbye to Sam and headed to the bus as people began boarding. I walked toward the back and caught Dylan's eye. He nodded toward the seat next to him. Elle was in the other history class but was seated in front of Dylan next to Matt since both classes were on the trip together. Matt reached across and gave me a high five as I sat down next to Dylan. "Hey," I said, dropping my bag at my feet. "Hey," he replied. "Ready for a 2-hour journey to see a rundown old castle?" "I'm so excited I can hardly contain myself," I deadpanned, earning a smile as Dylan turned to look out the window. Mr. Fletcher called the register before we set off. I watched the scenery pass by, but my attention often drifted back to Dylan. He was dressed for the chilly weather in black skinny jeans, worn-in boots, a leather jacket, and a gray scarf. His hair fell across his eyes, and I had to resist the urge to brush it away. "My mum said I could come along to the cabin during October break," Dylan said, still staring out the window. "That's great," I said, more excited than I intended. I had been worried he wouldn't be able to make it. Now everyone could go: Dylan, Sam, Matt, Elle, Cam, Mitch, Sally, and me. Dylan turned to me. "Do you want to ride with me, Mitch, and Sally? I'm guessing Sam is taking Matt, Elle, and Cam?" "Yeah, that'd be great. Saves us from squeezing 5 people into one car like last year. I'll warn you, though, you'll have to put up with Mitch the whole ride. At some point, you might consider walking instead." I laughed. "He can't be that bad, can he?" "Right," Dylan said, getting comfortable in his seat and facing me fully. "One time, we went to a carnival about an hour outside of town. There was this game, can't even remember what it was, but it was supposed to be impossible to win. Mitch, being Mitch, decided he was going to prove it wasn't impossible and win this giant unicorn for Sally. I'm not joking, it was almost the size of a pony. Unfortunately for us, he won. On the drive home, he stuck the unicorn out the window and yelled, 'I'm the master of the carnival. Peasants, bow before the mighty unicorn.'" I couldn't stop laughing. I could totally picture Mitch doing something like that. He was crazy. "He did that the whole way home?" I asked. "Until the police pulled us over and lectured him on safety," Dylan said with a laugh. "I love the guy like a brother, but sometimes, I just want to smack him." For the rest of the journey, Dylan and I talked about everything and nothing, slouching in our seats with shoulders leaning together. When we arrived and stepped off the bus, it felt colder, not just from the wind but also from losing the warmth of Dylan's presence beside me. We wandered around the castle ruins, Mr. Fletcher pointing out details before letting us explore freely for an hour. I ended up in a group with Dylan, Matt, and Elle. At the far end of the castle, we came to a tower with a narrow stone staircase. Afraid of heights, stayed behind as Dylan and I climbed. At the top, we emerged into a small circular room with a single long, narrow window overlooking the hills and forests below. I rubbed my hands together, trying to warm them. "Here," Dylan said, taking my hands in his. He didn't look at me, only staring out the window, slowly rubbing my hands with his. My cheeks flushed, grateful that his attention was elsewhere. We stayed there for a while, the warmth returning to my hands, but he didn't let go. The touch of his hands made my skin tingle. "Are you free Friday night?" Dylan asked quietly. I studied him, noticing his high cheekbones reddened by the cold and his breath fogging in the chilly air. "Yeah," I replied, nervous. Do you want to have dinner? My breath caught. By the soft squeeze of my hands, I could tell this wasn't a family dinner. Dylan was asking me on a date. Seeing the slight panic on my face, he added reassuringly, "Just us, nothing fancy. I have a place I want to show you." I let out the breath I didn't know I was holding and entwined my fingers with his. "Sure. I'd love to." He gave me that signature Dylan Lewis grin just as Matt's voice echoed from the stairwell. "Guys, we've got to go." Chapter 13. The entire school was buzzing with excitement for the upcoming October break. 2 weeks of no classes, no homework, and nothing but free time. Thankfully, everyone assumed the nervous energy I carried was because of our cabin trip. In reality, most of it came from my steadily approaching Friday night with Dylan. I was excited for the vacation, sure, but the thought of our date filled me with far more anticipation. Dylan had offered to pick me up after school, but I told him I would walk to his house instead. Truthfully, I needed the fresh air to settle my nerves. Calling it freaking out was an understatement. My mom wanted me home by 11, and Dylan asked me to meet him at 7:30. By 7, I was already heading toward his place, mentally rehearsing how calm I wanted to appear. I tried to treat it like any other date, but it wasn't like any other date. Not with him. It wasn't the fact that I was going on a date with a guy that rattled me, that part didn't bother me anymore. Somewhere along the way, my brain stopped labeling everything. It wasn't I kissed a guy. It was I kissed Dylan. And I genuinely liked him. As I turned the corner onto his street, my heart kicked up so fast I half expected to need a paper bag. Dylan was sitting on the front steps, and when he stood, I momentarily forgot how to breathe. He wore a scarf and gloves to match the cool night air, and he picked up a bag before walking toward me. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded, falling into step beside him as we walked around the side of his house. We followed a narrow path through the woods until we reached a clearing beside an old tree. Dylan set the bag down and looked up. I followed his gaze and froze. There, about 15 feet high, was a wooden tree house. "My grandfather built it for me," Dylan said as he picked up the bag again and headed toward a ladder leaning against the trunk. "He wanted me to have a quiet place to practice guitar. It was our little secret." He climbed up with surprising ease, and I followed. At the top, he offered me a hand. The tree house was bigger than I expected. Blankets and pillows covered the floor, and a small lantern glowed on a table. Posters and photos filled the walls. They felt warm, personal, important. "Dylan, you didn't have to show me this," I said softly. He sat and gently pulled me down beside him. "I know you're still figuring things out," he said. "I just wanted to bring you somewhere you could relax." He took off his gloves and scarf, and I did the same. From the bag, he pulled out a pizza box, 2 canned drinks, and some snacks. "Nothing fancy," he said with a small smile. "I hope you like pepperoni." "Pepperoni's great," I said, taking a slice. He played music from his old iPod dock while we ate, and the whole scene, pizza, music, the soft glow of the lantern, felt strangely perfect. We talked about our favorite bands, about silly memories, and he told me a story about getting stuck in the treehouse as a kid and needing his mom to rescue him. When he started stealing bits of pepperoni from other slices, I threw my empty can at him. "Hey, what was that for? Stop stealing all the pepperoni." I laughed. He grinned and handed me my last slice, missing a few pieces of pepperoni, of course. Afterward, we opened a box of chocolates. Dylan tossed them into the air, trying to catch them with his mouth. When he insisted I try throwing one, we both ended up laughing as I repeatedly missed, even hitting him in the forehead once, until I finally got one in. His hair fell into his eyes again, and without thinking, I reached out and gently brushed it back. "You really need a haircut," I murmured. His eyes flicked down to my lips before meeting my gaze again. In the soft lantern light, everything felt charged and quiet, like the world had paused. When he leaned in and kissed me, it was gentle, warm, and steady. There was nothing confusing or rushed about it. This time, we both knew exactly what we were doing. We pulled back only slightly, still holding onto each other. "Alec," Dylan said quietly, a playful sparkle in his eyes. "Yeah," I whispered. He gave me a quick, soft kiss and tried not to smile. I'm really glad you stood up for yourself. And that you punched Cam that day. I couldn't help but grin. Me too. We held hands as we made our way back to his house. We separated briefly to squeeze through the garden gate, and just then, Sophie ran outside in her pajama set and bright rain boots. She barreled into my arms, and I lifted her as Dylan led us inside. "What are you still doing up?" Dylan asked. She stuck her tongue out at him before turning to me. "Can I talk to you, Alec?" "Sure." She shooed Dylan away with a tiny hand gesture, and he backed off dramatically before heading inside. I sat on a garden bench with her on my knee. "What did you want to talk about?" I asked. "Are you going to be my brother's boyfriend?" she asked suddenly. I blinked. "I don't know. Do you want me to be?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "I like you. And Dylan likes you too. He was pacing all around the house before you came." I laughed. "Really?" She nodded seriously. "What are you two talking about?" Dylan called from the back door. "Nothing," we answered at the same time. Inside, Sophie ran off, nearly bumping into Jane in the kitchen. "She insisted on staying awake until you got here," Jane said with a laugh. "Looks like you've made a friend." By 10:30, it was time for me to head home. Dylan walked me to the side of the house and gently took my hand again. "I'll pick you up tomorrow at 10? He asked, glancing down at our intertwined fingers. "Sure," I said softly. I leaned in and gave him a small, quick kiss. "I'll see you tomorrow." He shook his head with a smile before heading back inside. Walking down the quiet street, the cool night air felt lighter around me. October break suddenly seemed even more exciting. "Do you want to be my brother's boyfriend?" "Maybe." I did. Chapter 14. I was all packed and ready when Dylan picked me up at 10 the next morning. I said goodbye to my mum, loaded my bags into the car, and settled into the passenger seat, with Mitch and Sally in the back. It didn't take long to get a taste of a typical car ride with Mitch. When he requested a CD, no one questioned him. But when ABBA's Dancing Queen filled the car and Mitch started singing along, loudly and off-key, we all realized his actions were definitely worth questioning. Dylan shot me a look that clearly said, "I told you so." The rest of the journey was filled with Mitch belting out every ABBA hit while we drove down the motorway. By the time Dylan reached the turnoff that Sam had directed us to, I was almost contemplating walking. We followed the dirt track through the forest, eventually winding around the lake. Through the trees, glimpses of the water appeared as we approached the cabin. A wooden structure nestled in a small clearing, the lake just visible if you looked closely. Sam and his group had beaten us there. Mitch groaned as the engine cut out, making us all laugh. Sally leaned over to give him a playful kiss, prompting Dylan and me to leave the car before the back seat got too cozy. "About time you guys got here," Sam called from the deck, motioning for us to come inside. Dylan and I carried our bags up the steps, leaving Mitch and Sally behind. The cabin looked just as I remembered. Sliding patio doors led directly into the open-plan living area. In the kitchen, Cam and Matt struggled to fit all the beer they'd brought into the fridge. Elle sat on a high stool, amused, sorting through takeout menus we'd collected over the years. I joined her just as all the cans toppled onto Cam's feet. "Matt, you could have stopped them." Elle laughed. "I tried." Matt held up his hands. Stacking them sideways was clearly a bad idea. Elle turned to me with a grin. "So, what's the verdict?" "Well," I said, pointing at the menus, "we have a choice of pizza or pizza." "I think pizza sounds perfect," she said, laughing. It made me happy that Sally was here too. She and Elle got along well, and I knew it must be a relief for Elle to have a friendly face around instead of being stuck with the chaos of us guys. "Where's Mitch and Sally?" I asked. Still in the back seat, Dylan called, carrying our bags. He held up a finger, signaling us to wait. A few minutes later, he returned with a slightly flustered Mitch and a smiling Sally, both clearly having had fun. Sally ran over to hug Elle, while Mitch jokingly pleaded his case to Dylan, who simply replied with a knowing yes. "All right, rooming situation," Sam announced, standing in the middle of the living area. "Mitch and Sally and Matt and Elle, you each have your own room. Dylan and Alec are together. No funny business, got it?" Dylan shot Mitch a playful look, and Cam made a teasing comment at Matt, earning a light-hearted slap on the arm. I was trying hard not to blush at the thought of sharing a room with Dylan. He, as usual, looked completely relaxed, giving me a quick fist bump before heading down the hall. I followed, doing my best to act casual, like it wasn't the most exciting thing in the world. Our room had 2 single beds with a small chest of drawers in between. The bathroom was just off to the right. Dylan's bag was near the bathroom, and he was already unpacking. I chose the bed by the window and began putting my things away. The silence between us was comfortable, but my mind was anything but. After unpacking, we headed to the kitchen where we ordered pizza. Tomorrow was forecasted to be warm, so we planned a barbecue by the lake. After an early night and a few playful warnings from Dylan about sleepwalking prankster Mitch, we all went to bed. Dylan let me use the bathroom first. Brushing my teeth and ready for bed, I returned to the room and climbed into bed, feeling his presence across the room. A few minutes later, Dylan turned off the bathroom light and came over to his bed. "Good night, Alec," he said softly. "Good night," I replied, shifting to get comfortable. Even sharing a room, he still felt a little far away. From Dylan's point of view, I sat on the bed, waiting for Alec to finish in the bathroom. When Sam said we'd share a room, I had to fight the urge to do a happy dance. Alec looked slightly nervous, the blush creeping up his neck, and I decided to stay calm for his sake. I slouched against the wall, listening as the bathroom door opened. Alec walked past my bed and froze briefly. I watched him move with ease, then went to the bathroom myself. After brushing my teeth, I returned to the bedroom. Alec was still facing the wall, breathing steadily. I quietly turned off the light and slid into bed, careful not to disturb him. "Good night, Alec," I murmured. "Good night," he replied softly. I watched him shift, wanting nothing more than to be closer, to share warmth, and just be near him as sleep claimed us both. Chapter 15. I woke the next morning to find the room empty and sunlight peeking through a crack in the curtains. I quickly got dressed in shorts and a t-shirt and headed to the kitchen, where Sam, Matt, Dylan, and Elle were already at the breakfast bar eating cereal. Sam had been smart enough to bring some basic supplies along with a cooler full of barbecue food for tonight, so we were set until tomorrow. I grabbed a bowl of cereal and joined them. "Hey," said Dylan and Matt as I sat down between them. I greeted everyone and quietly ate, listening in on their conversation. "So," Sam continued, "today is forecasted to be a really warm day, a last farewell to summer. The lake and barbecue are a go." Cheers erupted around the table just as Cam walked in. "Lake is a go?" he asked. "Yeah, we just need to make sure Sally and Mitch are awake," Sam replied. All eyes turned to Dylan, who froze mid-spoon, looking around before giving me a questioning look. "Why do I have to go wake them up?" "Because," I said, trying not to grin at his innocent expression, "you've known them the longest. And I think Mitch is less likely to be grumpy if it's you rather than one of us." Everyone nodded in agreement. Dylan sighed before standing and heading off to wake Mitch and Sally. As he passed me, his hand brushed my lower back, sending a small shiver of awareness through me. I watched him leave and return to my cereal, catching Sam's knowing smile from across the table. "What?" I asked, mouth full of cereal. He just shook his head. "Nothing." By 11 o'clock, everyone was ready to head to the lake. The lake wasn't very big, you could walk around it in about 3 hours, and you could see clearly to the opposite shore. The sandy shores gave it the small beach feel. There were only a handful of other cabins, and since the owners weren't around during October break, we had the lake mostly to ourselves. By 1 o'clock, the sun was shining. Mitch, Sam, Dylan, and Cam were running around playing frisbee while Matt, Elle, Sally, and I lounged on the sand. I lay on my stomach next to Sally, sunglasses shielding my eyes as I watched Dylan sprint across the sand, diving for the frisbee. The glasses were a small blessing, allowing me to watch without anyone noticing. "Have you talked to Kelly since that incident?" Sally asked. "Nope. Not planning to. As long as she stays out of my way, I'm fine." Sally nodded, then asked, "So, how's the whole relationship thing going?" "Okay, I guess. Being single isn't too bad. How long have you and Mitch been together?" 2 years. I whistled. Wow, that's impressive. You'd think you'd fight or get bored, but somehow you're still together. Sally laughed and playfully hit my arm. 2 years with Mitch? That deserves applause. He's not bad. Things are never boring and he keeps me laughing even at the wrong times. What are you two talking about? Called Mitch, wrestling Dylan in a playful headlock. Just girl talk. Sally called back. Dylan tackled Mitch to the ground and we all laughed. Sally scooted closer and whispered, Alec, can I ask you something? Sure, I said, sitting up. The two of us were alone, Matt and Elle having wandered along the lake's edge. Sally pushed her sunglasses to the top of her head. Not to pry, and you can tell me to back off, but how are things between you and Dylan? I felt a flutter of fear for a moment. Fear of judgment, fear of being found out, but Sally's smile eased it. I looked at Dylan in the distance and took a deep breath. I don't know. Things are complicated. Did he say something to you? No, but I could tell by the way he talks to you, the way he looks at you. I can tell he likes you. And when I saw you reacting the same way, it clicked. Does Mitch know? Probably wouldn't notice if we were hit by a meteor. Guys are terrible at picking up on this stuff. I laughed. Sally nudged my arm. Do you want to talk about it? I'm here if you need someone. You can trust me. I nodded, feeling relief wash over me. I just don't know what to do. Sally gave me a comforting hug. Despite sitting on the beach in the sun, it was one of those rare moments of warmth that had nothing to do with the weather. Do you like him? She asked. I nodded. Then don't overthink it. Dylan's straightforward. He likes talking about feelings, unlike most people. Just enjoy it. I smiled, hugging her back. Hey Brooke, you better not be trying to steal my girl. Mitch called, striding toward us with Dylan in tow. She's not my type, I called, glancing at Dylan. His smile was brilliant, full of warmth. Not my type at all, but that was the point. Later, back at the cabin, the sun had set and the air was cooler. We gathered outside for the barbecue, wrapped in blankets and jackets. I sat on a blanket next to Dylan, both of us leaning against a log. He wore a black knitted sweater, I had jeans and a hoodie. His hair curled at the edges, but no longer covered his eyes. I smiled at the thought of him getting a haircut before we left, remembering our treehouse conversation. Cam and Mitch cooked while the rest of us settled down to eat. We stayed out until the fire died down, the cool night air nudging us inside. Sam went to turn the heating on. Bad news, guys, he said when he returned. The heating's not working. Spare blankets are in the cupboard at the end of the hall. By the time everyone had settled in with blankets, it was past 11. Dylan and I got ready and climbed into bed under the extra layers. No matter the weather, I could only sleep in my boxers, and the blankets weren't quite warm enough. It's freezing, I muttered. Dylan chuckled. Why don't you put on some clothes then? I just can't sleep with them. Besides, you're only in boxers too. His teasing voice followed. Were you checking me out? So what if I was? Well, if you'd asked, I could have done a little runway show for you. I groaned, face-palming in the dark. Dylan laughed. A few minutes of quiet passed before he asked, Still cold? I'm freezing. How are you not? He moved closer, slipping into bed beside me. Budge over, he said. I shifted, and he wrapped an arm around me, pressing his back against mine. I felt warmth radiate through me. Warmer? He asked. Yeah, I whispered, slowly relaxing and resting closer to him. We intertwined our fingers, a silent connection in the quiet night. Good night, I whispered. Good night, Alec, Dylan breathed. I drifted off, the chill forgotten, comforted by his presence. Chapter 16. I woke and stayed as still as possible, not wanting to break this quiet moment. Lying on my back, I watched Dylan sleeping beside me. He was on his stomach, one leg draped over mine, and his arm rested across my chest. His wavy hair fell over his face, lips slightly parted. Moments like this made me feel weightless. Just the two of us, no expectations, no judgments, just warmth spreading through my chest. I was nervous, not scared exactly, but anxious. Taking things slow, just spending time together, was new to me. My past relationships had never started like this. Usually a fleeting encounter followed by a casual dinner. Getting to really know someone beforehand wasn't something I'd considered. Now, I was learning about Dylan, the side no one else always sees. I knew about his love of music, his creativity, his playful streak. I'd met his family and seen the joy in his eyes whenever Sophie entered a room. But this, the personal, quiet side, was new and important. I carefully leaned over him to check the time on my phone. Only 8 o'clock. I lay back down, studying him. Up close, I could see the light freckles across his nose and a small scar on his left eyebrow. He was beautiful. I wasn't sure how long I'd been watching him when I started to feel like a creep. I turned to the ceiling and gently ran my fingers along his arm. His muscles tensed slightly and he stirred. "Hey," he mumbled, half asleep, flashing a sleepy version of his lazy grin. I had to resist sighing. "Hey," I whispered. He slowly removed his arm from across me, rubbed his eyes, and I reached over to push his hair back. As I pulled my hand away, he caught it, and we entwined our fingers. I smiled. "Sleep well?" I asked a little awkwardly. "The best," he replied, letting go of my hand and heading to the bathroom. A few minutes later, he returned wearing a loose t-shirt and drawstring shorts. "Breakfast?" he asked. "Sure," I said, pulling on some jogging pants and a t-shirt. I felt his eyes on me the whole time. He held the bedroom door open as we headed into the kitchen. It was 9:30, and only Sally and Mitch were up. Mitch lay on the sofa with his arm over his face, and Sally busied herself in the kitchen. Dylan gave my shoulder a reassuring squeeze before playfully tackling Mitch. Sally looked at me, wiggling her eyebrows, and I shook my head, laughing. "Pop-Tart," she offered. Who could resist? She popped 2 in the toaster and stood next to me, watching the boys wrestle. "Good night?" she asked, leaning casually against the counter. "Great night," I replied, keeping my eyes on Dylan. "Not overthinking things?" she teased. "Nope. Minimal thinking is the new trend," I joked. She laughed. "Well, if it makes you this happy, I should try it too." We ate our Pop-Tarts as Dylan and Mitch joined us, shoving each other like kids. "You weigh a ton," Dylan complained. "You're just not as strong as you think," Mitch countered, taking a bite of Sally's Pop-Tart. "Get your own Pop-Tart." Sally scolded. Dylan mouthed very manly to me, and I grinned. "I think we should go for a hike around the lake," Sally suggested. "I'm in," I said. Dylan nodded, and even Mitch reluctantly agreed. By 9:45, we were ready and left a note saying we'd be back for lunch. The wind had picked up, making it chilly, though the trees offered some shelter. Mitch waved a stick like a sword, chasing Dylan while they debated about something only they knew. Sally and I walked behind, jackets zipped, hands in pockets. Halfway around the lake, Sally spoke. "Has Dylan made anything official yet?" "What? Are you two in a relationship or just friends?" "Oh, no, not really. We've gone on a date, but we're taking it slow." "Dating a guy?" "Yeah." If someone had told me at the start of the year that I'd have a crush on a guy, I'd have thought they were crazy. Sally nodded. "Dylan understands. He didn't realize he liked guys until he met Jamie." "Jamie?" She hesitated, then said softly, "Jamie was Dylan's ex. He didn't know he was gay until they dated. It ended not very well." I nodded, remembering Dylan mentioning a past relationship after our first detention. We returned to the cabin for lunch and ordered Indian for dinner. Sam started a log fire while updating us about the heating, still broken, but a technician was scheduled for tomorrow. Another night with blankets. "Well, and Dylan?" After everyone had settled in, Dylan said, "I'm headed to bed." We said our goodnights, and I decided it was time to turn in too. I knocked on the door and stepped inside. Dylan poked his head out of the bathroom with a toothbrush in his mouth, smiling as I collapsed onto the bed. He finished brushing and sat at the foot of the bed. "You all right?" "Yeah, just tired," I replied, rubbing my face. "Want a personal heater tonight?" he teased. I laughed. "You can be my personal heater every night." "I guess my career path is set then, Alec Brooks' personal heater," he joked, lying down next to me. What were you talking to Sally about? He asked. Just how observant she is, I said. Should have mentioned that. Nothing gets past Detective Sally, he teased. She's nice though. Good to have someone to talk to. You know you can talk to me too, he said. I nodded. Dylan always had a way of expressing himself, whether through music, art, or words. He cupped my face, leaning in for a soft kiss. It was slow, comforting, and left me wanting more. He kissed my forehead gently before moving toward his bed to get ready for sleep. I brushed my teeth, changed, and climbed back into bed beside him. He wrapped his arms around me and whispered, "Good night, Alec." I couldn't resist. I turned and pressed my lips to his in a quick, clumsy kiss. He gasped softly and I smiled. "Good night, Dylan," I whispered, locking our fingers together and finally letting my racing heart settle. Chapter 17. I woke to the feel of someone nuzzling against my neck, arms wrapped comfortably around my waist. The room was quiet except for the soft patter of raindrops on the window. I sighed and shifted closer to Dylan, keeping my eyes closed. "Good morning," he whispered, his lips brushing my neck as he spoke. "I'm not awake yet," I mumbled, squeezing my eyes shut. Dylan chuckled softly, his nose tracing the back of my neck and along my hairline. "You sure about that?" he teased, leaning close enough that my eyes flew open. One small smile and my brain immediately declared him adorable beyond reason. "Gotta pee," I said quickly, scrambling over him and racing to the bathroom. I brushed my teeth and splashed cold water on my face, hoping to compose myself. Admitting I liked a guy was one thing. Panicking in front of him was another entirely. Afterwards, I returned to the bedroom, trying to channel Dylan's usual laid-back vibe. He smiled at me from the bed, casually sprawled out with his hands behind his head. I sat on my side of the bed, knees to my chest, glancing at him. His hair was tousled in that effortless, I just woke up and still look good way. I reminded myself to breathe. "What's the plan for today?" Dylan asked, clearly amused by my wandering gaze. "The plan," I cleared my throat, "is that Sam and I go grocery shopping while the others wait for the heater repair guy." I drew back the curtain, peering at the gray, rainy sky. Unless someone wants to try getting a tan in this downpour, in which case, have fun. Dylan just shook his head, smiling. "I'm getting a shower." I watched him head to the bathroom, throwing a pillow at him when he paused in the doorway and cheekily grinned over his shoulder. He closed the door, still smiling. When Sam and I were ready, we left the others attempting to set up a Monopoly game and headed to the car. The 20-minute drive to the store was filled with small talk, though I could tell something was on Sam's mind. We dashed into the store to escape the rain. I grabbed a trolley, quickly picking up groceries and a few DVDs for the inevitable rainy days. Once back in the car, dripping wet, we started back toward the cabin. "Spit it out," I said, turning toward him. Sam gave me a guilty little grin before sighing. "Right? I don't know how to say this, so I'll just be blunt," he said, glancing at me. "Firstly, I just want you to know, you can tell me anything. I'll never judge you." "Yeah, okay." Where was he going with this? "You're like a brother to me. I love you, and I care about you. I would never judge you." I raised an eyebrow. "Is there a point to all this?" He pulled over, rain hammering against the windshield. Sam turned to me, serious now. "What's going on with you and Dylan?" I took a deep breath, trying to keep my expression neutral. "What do you mean?" "You too, you know?" I froze. Despite his reassurances, admitting it out loud felt like a huge step. Step 1 had been realizing it myself. Step 2, telling a friend, was harder than I expected. Before I could answer, Sam's expression changed, and then he grinned. "I knew it," he shouted, slapping my arm. "Wait, you're not?" "Not grossed out. Not at all. If I'm mad at you, it's that you didn't tell me sooner." I exhaled in relief. "So, how did you know?" I asked. He shrugged. "I started thinking about it after you split with Kelly. You're not the type to mess around without feelings. Then I noticed you with Dylan. You hardly mention him, but you watch him all the time. That's when I realized." I shook my head, smiling despite myself. "Best friend powers, huh?" "Exactly," he said with a grin. "So, how are things with Dylan? You really want to talk about my possible relationship with another guy? I teased. Not much different from talking about girls. And don't worry, I won't ask for details like specifics. Sam, I said, laughing. Sorry. You know what I mean. I sighed, glad to be talking to him. Things with Dylan are good. Just good. I'm nervous. I like him more than I've liked anyone else, and it's all so new. If someone told me months ago I'd be crushing on a guy, I would have laughed. He nodded. From what I hear, Dylan's honest and open about his feelings, right? Yeah. Then talk to him. Don't hold back. You're not bad at being emotional either, even when you're nervous. I laughed. You mean I turn into a sap when I'm nervous? Your words, not mine, he said with a grin. We laughed together, and I felt a wave of relief. Talking to Sam made everything seem more real, more manageable. By the way, he added with a grin, if Dylan messes this up, I'll have words with him. Thanks. No problem, little sis, he said, smirking. I shook my head, laughing at him. Bastard. Chapter 18. When we got back to the cabin, we hurried inside, grateful for the warmth. We were soaked through, but luckily the heating repair guy had already come. After putting the groceries away, I sat down next to Sally and Elle, watching Mitch and Cam on the Xbox. When Dylan walked in, Sam waved him over into the kitchen. I watched them talk, Dylan nodding along at whatever Sam said, laughing at something whispered in his ear. They glanced over at me and I squinted, frowning. Sam shook his head with a smile and playfully pushed my head back as he passed, then sat down next to Matt. Dylan nodded toward the bedroom, and I followed him. We both sat on his bed at opposite sides. Dylan crossed his legs gracefully and gave me a sly look. What? I asked, sounding more defensive than intended. You were talking about me to Sam, weren't you? I was not. Whatever you say, he teased, chuckling. So, you told him you were gay? He asked. It turns out my poker face isn't as good as I thought. Your poker face is awful. Thanks for the input. Don't want my ego getting too big now, do we? I replied. He just grinned. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Savannah appeared. Come by when you get back. I can help you relax, winky face X. I muttered, you, and threw the phone onto the bed. Dylan raised an eyebrow at me, clearly amused. Savannah? He asked, his gaze playful. X, I admitted. Kind of a crazy one. He nodded and made a ridiculous face, making me laugh. Then I remembered something Sally had said. What about you? I asked. Dylan looked confused. What about your ex? The one you mentioned after that first day in detention? He paused, thinking carefully. Oh, him? His name is Jamie. We dated for about a year. What happened? For the first time, Dylan looked slightly uncomfortable. He leaned forward, arms resting on his knees. He broke up with me for a girl. Said he had fun, but it just wasn't for him anymore. What an idiot, I muttered. Dylan let out a small, bitter chuckle. Yeah, I didn't even realize I was gay until I started dating him. Have you spoken to him since? No. I tried calling, but he didn't want to talk. It's been nearly 6 months since the breakup. I wasn't sure what to say. I could tell it still bothered him, and I'd never been on the receiving end of a breakup myself. I shuffled closer and took his hand, lazily threading my fingers with his. Do you want to talk to him? I asked softly, staring at our hands. I did at first. I wanted to know what changed things, whether it was me or just life. I missed him, but eventually I realized I needed to stop living in the past, he said, looking up at me with a playful glint in his eyes. Oh really? I teased, trying to sound casual. Yeah. He's great, terrible poker face though. I tried to keep my expression neutral, but failed, and we both laughed. Dylan caught my other hand, lifted them both, and pressed a gentle kiss to my knuckles. You okay about the whole Sam thing? He asked softly, resting his chin on our hands. Yeah, he was really supportive. He threatened to beat you up, though. Dylan grinned, laughing. I know, he told me that too. He called me little sis, I said, remembering. Mitch used to call me Tenna lady, I added, laughing so hard I nearly fell back onto the bed. Dylan just stared, awestruck. What? I asked. He leaned in and kissed my cheek, brushing his lips against mine in a sweet, playful gesture. We laughed together, sitting there hand in hand. Dylan! Alec! We're ordering Chinese, shouted Cam from the living room. We groaned in unison, ready to leave the emotional heart-to-heart for the moment, but with a warm smile that lingered between us. Chapter 19. On Wednesday, it rained, so we decided to have a movie day, which quickly turned into debates over what to watch and which pizza to order. Teenagers and takeout, what else is new? It was nice spending time with everyone. With Dylan, Mitch, and Sally joining our little group, Elle wasn't the only girl around, and I got to spend more time with Dylan. Even though the heating had been fixed, Dylan still slept in my bed, and somehow, we managed to keep our hands to ourselves. The makeout session on the bed left me feeling all kinds of confused. For starters, it was the first time I'd ever felt attracted to a guy, and that scared me a little. Dylan and I had been taking things slow, probably for my sake, but now that I'd admitted to Sam and to myself that I was totally into Dylan, it felt like we were on the verge of becoming official. It wasn't fear of Dylan, it was fear of the unknown. I trusted him completely. Thursday brought a break in the rain, but the day was still cold and miserable. Mitch and Sally, along with Elle and Matt, decided to go on a double lunch date, leaving Sam, Dylan, Cam, and me at the cabin. We did what you'd expect. Video games, laughter, and the occasional groan when Cam got eaten by zombies again. Suddenly, Dylan's phone rang. "Unknown number," he muttered, walking over to the kitchen. I went to grab a can of juice and overheard him speaking. His tone was sharp, tense. Why should I care? He can figure it out himself. "I'm not running back for anyone," Dylan said firmly. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing back and forth, clearly upset. Then he hung up, standing with both hands tangled in his hair, staring at the ceiling. "Shit," he muttered before storming out the back door, slamming it behind him. I froze for a moment, then Sam walked in and quietly said, "Go after him." He was right. I pulled on my jacket and headed outside, following Dylan's footprints in the muddy ground along the lake. I'd never seen him this upset, and it worried me. Whatever had triggered him, it must have been serious. After 20 minutes, I found him near the tree line by the lake, leaning against a tree and staring out at the water. He hadn't grabbed a jacket in his rush out, just a long-sleeved navy shirt and black jeans. His hair was a mess, his frown deep, and he looked impossibly intense. I stayed a few feet back. "You okay?" I asked softly. He didn't respond at first. "That was Callie," he said finally. "She's Jamie's girlfriend. Well, ex-girlfriend now. He was drunk and broke up with her before he drove off and crashed. He's in the hospital." I watched silently as Dylan clenched his fists. I could see him trying, and failing, to stay calm. I stepped closer, placing my hands gently on his shoulders and meeting his gaze. "You can tell me. Let it out," I whispered. "He's fine. Nothing's wrong with him." But Callie called because he asked her to. He wanted me to go see him, to hear an apology. My grip on his shoulders tightened instinctively. Dylan's eyes filled with tears, and for the first time, I felt that protective instinct surge. I hated Jamie, for what he'd done to Dylan, for leaving him exposed and vulnerable. Standing there, I saw how fragile Dylan could be, how much he tried to hide it, and I was determined to be there for him. "I don't care about him anymore," Dylan said, voice breaking slightly. "What gets me is that he still expects me to care. The bastard left me heartbroken, and after all this time, he expects me to drop everything and go running. But I'm not. I'm not letting him mess up what I've got with you." I lifted his face in my hands, resting my forehead against his, looking into his tear-filled eyes. "You've got me," I said softly. "I'm not going anywhere. You've got me if you want me." Despite everything, he smiled. A tear-streaked, vulnerable smile that made my heart ache. "My beautifully fragile-hearted boy. I want you," he whispered. "You'll have to chase me away if you ever want me gone." I pulled him into a hug, his face pressed into my neck, his arms around my waist. I smoothed his hair back. "Never," I whispered. Chapter 20. Dylan and I walked back to the cabin, hand in hand, neither of us saying a word. It felt nice, familiar even, to feel the warmth of his hand in mine. With that simple gesture came an emotional closeness I hadn't experienced before. He trusted me enough to cry in front of me, to share what happened with Jamie, and to let me comfort him. It was a lot of responsibility, but I welcomed it. I'd never felt that kind of bond with anyone before. As we neared the cabin, Dylan let go of my hand. There was an unspoken understanding between us. While Sam and Sally might already know about our closeness, I wasn't quite ready to tell anyone else. I was only just coming to terms with it myself. Inside, Sam and Cam were still playing on the Xbox, Cam grumbling as he got eaten by zombies, again. They barely noticed us as we sat down on opposite couches. Dylan's shoulder brushed mine, and I had to resist the urge to lean closer. "Have you heard from the others?" I asked, watching Cam lose yet another round. "Yeah, they'll be back for dinner," Dylan replied. "Cam and I are going to grab some fish and chips since the takeout place is in the opposite direction from them. Should be back around 7. You wanna come?" "No, I'm good." "Die, zombie!" Cam shouted dramatically, flailing the controller. "Ladies and gentlemen, Cameron in competitive mode." Sam shook his head with a grin. "Alright, I think we'd better go before Cam's ego shatters completely." He turned off the console, earning a dramatic groan from Cam. I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket and realized the battery was low. I got up and headed toward the bedroom. "See you in about an hour and a half." Sam called, dragging Cam out the door. I rummaged through my bag for my charger and, for some reason, the nearest outlet was under the bed. I army crawled under it and plugged in my phone. "What are you doing?" Dylan asked, peering at me from the floor. His head was upside down, hair nearly touching the floor. "Charging my phone," I said, shimmying back out. He rolled over onto his back as I stood up, then slouched against the wall. His knees were raised, hands resting behind his head, and he gave me a mischievous grin. "What?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "You're staring," he teased, then leaned in and kissed me. It was a soft, lingering kiss, filled with warmth and the kind of emotion that left my heart racing. I sat up, and Dylan cupped my face, pressing his lips gently against mine. I rested my hands on his shoulders and arms, feeling the comfort of his closeness. We broke apart briefly, both of us catching our breath, but he leaned back in, brushing my hair away from my face as he smiled. Dylan's eyes met mine, filled with a mix of warmth, trust, and something deeper. "You can tell me to stop at any time, okay?" he whispered. I shook my head, smiling. "I'm not going anywhere." He returned the smile before leaning in again, pressing a soft, tender kiss to my lips. It wasn't about rushing or desire. It was about closeness, trust, and the simple, thrilling joy of being with someone who truly cared. Chapter 21. I swear, Sally knew. I was on the verge of an anxiety attack, feeling like I'd just walked into a spotlight without a script. "Have a good day?" Sally asked, coming up behind me as I reached for a drink from the fridge. "Sally, you scared me," I exclaimed. "Sorry," she said with a grin. "So, what did you get up to?" After escaping the shared shower with Dylan, which had turned into more than just a casual makeout session, we'd spent the afternoon on the couch playing Xbox until everyone arrived home 15 minutes later. Dylan had jokingly warned me to watch out for Detective Sally, and ever since, I'd been on edge. I could feel her eyes on me the entire dinner. "Not much," I said, trying to sound casual. "Went for a walk with Dylan around the lake, then we hung out and played Xbox." "Sounds fun." "Yeah, it was." I tried to sidestep Sally, but she blocked my path. When I went another way, she moved to cut me off again. "What?" I asked, exasperated. She just stared, and when I glanced over her shoulder, I saw Dylan and Mitch watching me. Mitch asked a question, and Dylan laughed, shaking his head. My face flushed. Sally noticed, quickly turning around, eyebrows raised, hands over her mouth. "You and—" I grabbed her hand and pulled her out the back door. "Shoo!" I hissed. "Oh ye Alec," she squealed. "Could you be any louder?" I muttered. "Sorry," she stage whispered. So, what did you do? I know you did something. Your poker face is awful. I know it's awful. And what we did is none of your business, I said firmly. So, are you together? I glanced at Dylan. He gave me a soft smile. I shrugged. I guess so. Sally squealed and started spinning around in a little circle. I just stood there, shaking my head, then returned inside, picked up my drink, and joined Dylan and Mitch on the couch. Where's Sally? Mitch asked. Dancing outside like a weirdo, I replied. Why? I shrugged. Beats me. Over Mitch's shoulder, I could see Dylan trying not to laugh. Asshole. Mitch got up to fetch Sally, leaving me on the couch next to Dylan. The others were playing cards, and Cam was on the phone with his mom, who apparently still treated him like a kid. Why am I the one to get interrogated by Detective Sally? I asked Dylan quietly. Because you have an awful poker face, he replied, smirking. I sighed and took a sip of my drink. Sally came inside with Mitch and walked straight over to us, leaving Mitch to grab another drink. She smiled mischievously, and Dylan nearly choked on his. She sat on my knee and leaned close. You need to tell Mitch so we can double date, she whispered to Dylan. We groaned in unison. You better not be stealing my girlfriend, Brooke, Mitch called as he returned with Cam. She's too much for me, I said. You got that right, said Mitch as Sally hopped onto his lap instead. I looked at Dylan, and he returned a knowing look. Sally was definitely a handful. How about a movie night? Matt suggested. Chick flick. Cam shouted in a high-pitched voice and got hit with a pillow from Al. We all agreed to watch Savages. Blake Lively can sit anywhere near me, muttered Mitch. Dude, your girlfriend is right there, Sam reminded him. Doesn't matter, Sally added, making Dylan chuckle beside me. He leaned back slightly into me. I tried to focus on the movie, but all I could do was watch Dylan. I felt content just being near him. I trusted him and needed him in a way I'd never needed anyone before, and the best part was, I knew he felt the same. The film ended, and we all chatted casually. I loved my friends, my chosen family. We bickered, teased, and sometimes annoyed each other, but we always had each other's backs. What's the plan for tomorrow? I asked, stifling a yawn. All go out for lunch since it's our last day? Matt suggested. Sam nodded. And we can use up whatever's left in the fridge for dinner. We agreed and headed to bed. Of course, Sally couldn't resist wiggling her eyebrows at us on her way to her room. Definitely locking the door tonight, Dylan muttered as he flipped Sally off. I chuckled, stripped down to my boxers and brushed my teeth. Dylan joined me at the sink, brushing his as well. I climbed into bed and waited for Dylan. Eventually, he jumped on, landing with a thud. Hey, watch it. I laughed. I'm comfy, he said. I rolled over and nudged him. Comfy, huh? You weigh a ton. He flopped onto his stomach and draped an arm over my chest, resting his face on a pillow. I poked him playfully. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing, just tired. Can't believe tomorrow's the last day. I know, I whispered, trailing my fingers over his arm. At least we've got a week until school starts again. True, he said, smiling and yawning. Go to sleep, Sleeping Beauty, I teased, switching off the light. How do you know Sleeping Beauty's name? He asked. How do you? I replied, climbing back into bed and draping his arm over me. I have a 6-year-old sister. Your excuse? My parents made me watch them as a kid, I admitted. Bull. Fine. I like Disney movies, so I watched them all. Dylan chuckled softly and leaned over to press a gentle kiss to my lips, making my stomach flutter. Good night, Prince Charming, he whispered. Chapter 22. I felt a pang of sadness. It was our last day at the cabin. Soon, I'd have to return to the real world, with schoolwork and parental responsibilities waiting. It had been so nice to just hang out with Dylan and my friends without all those pressures. We set out around noon and headed to a small nearby town, stopping at a cozy little place called Enrique's. We snagged a table in the far corner and placed our orders. Dylan sat to my left, Sally next to him, followed by Mitch. Sam, Elle, Matt, and Cam were across from us. Everything was going smoothly, jokes, laughter, and amazing food, until my phone buzzed in my pocket. My place is free tomorrow night if you're up for some fun, winky face. I groaned, resting my forehead on the table, narrowly avoiding my plate. Savannah or Kelly? Sam asked from across the table. Savannah, I muttered. Their BFF radar creeps me out, Cam added, earning a snicker from Matt. I tried to focus on my phone, willing it to magically fly out the window. Sam raised an eyebrow, grinning. Told you never should have gone there, he said, sipping his drink. Yeah, but you also told me I could handle 5 more beers that night, which ended me here, I reminded him. He shrugged. Guess you shouldn't have listened then. I flipped him off and replied to Savannah. Can't, got plans. I glanced up to see Dylan reading my reply. His eyebrow lifted. Do I know her? Tell her your mom needs you, he suggested. I shot him a look. She'd probably believe that, I said. Now wouldn't that be entertaining? I grinned and replied, I'll talk to you later. Dylan nodded in mock approval. Nicely handled. Glad you approve, I teased. Back at the cabin, we hung out, chatting and snacking on leftovers. Some of us started a movie while others continued their quiet conversations. Dylan caught my eye and nodded toward the back door, signaling me to follow him. Outside, the sky had darkened and the air was cool. The moonlight shimmered on the lake, casting a calm glow through the trees. We walked into the woods, far enough from the cabin to be private but close enough to see it. Got plans for tomorrow night? Dylan asked, leaning against a tree. I stood in front of him, hands in my pockets. In the moonlight, his hair glowed white, and his eyes sparkled a deep, dark blue. Nope, I replied. Just an excuse not to see Savannah. He nodded, looking out at the lake. Do you want plans? He asked, almost shyly. I smiled. What did you have in mind? He shrugged. You could stay at mine if you want. My mom's on a night shift, so I'm looking after Sophie. I'd love to, I said softly. He turned toward me, smiling. I returned the smile, and he leaned in to kiss me. Despite the cool air, his lips were warm. I took his hands in mine, threading my fingers through his as we kissed. Alec, Dylan. We broke apart and looked toward the cabin. Are you guys out here? Dylan rolled his eyes and made a face. I laughed as we walked back, our hands no longer intertwined, though his hand rested lightly on my back, thumb moving in slow circles. Emerging from the trees, we found Sally waiting. Her eyes widened as she waved. I thought you guys were out here, she said. You called? Dylan replied, sounding amused. I held up my hands. Not pregnant, I said, and Dylan burst out laughing. Sally shook her head. Your phone was buzzing, so I came to give it to you. Couldn't find you. Thought maybe a bear got you or something. Dylan and I laughed as I took my phone from her. Sure enough, there was another message, this time from my mom. Hi honey, hope you're having a good time. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a safe trip home. Sam shot me a questioning look. I just shook my head, sat next to Dylan, and turned my attention back to the film, just in time to see a zombie get decapitated. Chapter 23. I woke earlier than usual the next day to find Dylan already awake. He was sitting next to me, back against the headboard, staring at the opposite wall with a thoughtful frown. Hey, I mumbled sleepily, rubbing my eyes. His face softened into a lazy, sleepy smile. Hi, he whispered. What are you thinking about? I asked as he shuffled back under the covers beside me. He stared at the ceiling for a few moments, and I braced myself for a shrug and nothing. But then, of course, it was Dylan we were talking about. Life, back home. School, he said finally. Jamie. I felt him tense beside me, waiting for my reaction. I didn't know exactly how to feel. I trusted Dylan completely, which left no reason for jealousy. But Jamie was Dylan's first, and I couldn't help a mix of curiosity and a little irritation at how someone could take Dylan for granted. What about Jamie? I asked calmly. Dylan sighed. I don't know. I hadn't thought about him much lately, but after Callie called. He shrugged and pulled the covers over his head. I tried to stifle a laugh and tugged at the blanket, failing, then decided to join him under the covers. We ended up lying facing each other, his hair brushing my cheek. "You just going to hide under here?" I teased. "Might as well. What's out there worth it?" I surprised him with a quick kiss. "You're doing that a lot lately, Alec," he murmured, smiling as he reached to cup my face. I pulled away playfully, leapt toward the bathroom and called back. "You're right. Out here's overrated. You stay under there with everything you could want." I tossed my boxers onto the bed where Dylan had been and ducked into the bathroom, leaving the door ajar. "Alec." "Yeah." I peeked around the door. Dylan sat on the bed with the covers around his waist, holding my boxers, eyebrow raised. I wiggled my eyebrows and waved before shutting and locking the bathroom door. "Alec," he called after me. By the time we were packed and ready to leave, it was nearly lunchtime. Hunger plus Mitch's car karaoke extravaganza was not a good combination. We stopped at McDonald's drive-thru, and once Sally finally decided on her order, we were back on the road. After dropping Sally and Mitch off, we headed to Dylan's place. "Oh shoot. I need to call my mum first to let her know I'm staying at yours," I said to Dylan as he pulled over. I dialed her quickly. "Hey Mum, it's Alec." "Oh, hi honey. How was your trip?" "It was great. Actually, I was planning on staying at Dylan's tonight. Is that okay? Can you pop over first? And bring Dylan, I've never met him." My mum is usually indifferent about meeting friends, so this was unusual. "Sure. Mum, is everything okay?" "Of course. I just missed you, that's all." "Okay, I'll see you in about 15 minutes. See you soon. Bye." I hung up and looked at Dylan, who was grinning. "Want to meet my mum?" I asked. He placed a hand over his heart. "I would be honored." I lightly punched his arm as he started the car, and we drove over. My parents are pretty average. Not overly friendly, adventurous, or weird. We're not big on family gatherings, and my dad especially keeps to himself. I couldn't have prepared Dylan for what happened when we walked in. "Hi. You must be Dylan," my mum called from the kitchen. That was the last thing I could manage to say. Karen Brooke was dressed casually in sweatpants, hair in a messy ponytail, and somehow still looking composed. "I'm Karen," she said, shaking Dylan's hand while I struggled to breathe. "It's a pleasure to meet you," Dylan said politely. "I made cookies. Want some?" she asked. "I'd love some," he replied, following her into the kitchen. I don't know how long I stood there before Luke came down, waving his hand in front of my face. "Huh? Why are you standing there like that?" "Mum made cookies," I said. Luke managed a smile. "Never done that before." Dylan sat at the table as my mum washed some dishes. "Hey, what's up?" Dylan greeted Luke with a fist bump. "Luke, this is Dylan," I said, taking a cookie. "Is this edible?" "I cook all the time," my mum said. "Yeah, but cookies?" I took a cautious bite. Not bad. Luke sat beside Dylan, and they chatted while munching cookies. I helped my mum with drying dishes. "So, I started." "So," she asked, "what's going on? You're not usually like this, baking cookies, wanting to meet friends." She leaned against the sink. "I realized we're not that close, and with you moving to college soon, I didn't want you to feel like you have nothing to come home to." I was speechless. I hadn't thought she noticed or cared. "Did something happen?" I asked. "Nothing for you to worry about." "So, where did you meet Dylan?" "Detention," I admitted. She playfully swatted my arm. "What was that for?" "Punching Cam in the face." "Fair enough," she said. "Sometimes I wish I could punch his mum too." "Dylan seemed nice," she said, and we confirmed I'd be staying at his place. She smiled, brushed her thumb over my cheek, and handed the plate of cookies to Luke. "It was nice meeting you, Dylan. Call me Karen." "You too, Karen." When we got to Dylan's car, I slumped into the seat. "She was nice," Dylan said. "She was different. Never like that before." "Maybe that's a good thing? If it lasts." She said something happened, but it's handled. "Then don't worry," Dylan said, lacing his fingers through mine. Chapter 24. Alec. Before I could even brace myself, a small, energetic child launched herself into my arms. Sophie hugged me tightly. "Hey there," I said, hugging her back. I glanced at Dylan, who was standing nearby with a mock look of confusion on his face. "Hi Dylan, favorite big brother. Nice to see you," Sophie said with a grin. "Oh, hi Sophie. Nice to see you too," Dylan replied, smiling. She stuck her tongue out at him and I put her down. "I see you all the time," she said, skipping down the hall. I laughed at Dylan and shrugged, following him into the kitchen. "Mark asked me to come in early, so I've made a steak pie in the oven. You can have it with whatever you like. I'll be home around 5, and please don't let Sophie stay up too late," Dylan said. "Sure thing," I said. He kissed Sophie on the head before she darted out the door. I sat at the table with Sophie while Dylan finished preparing dinner. There was something captivating about watching him focus so intently. Even though I'd never seen him paint or play an instrument, I could imagine him wearing the same expression while doing either. During dinner, Sophie shared stories from her week at her grandmother's, baking cupcakes and cookies, shopping trips, and even her grandmother's belief that the house was haunted. Afterward, Sophie and I settled on the couch, with her sitting on my lap, watching Frozen while Dylan cleaned up. Sophie sang along, danced with every song, and expressed her shared dislike for Prince Hans. "You can tell he's dodgy because of his hair," Sophie said. "What?" "His hair," she said, pointing at the screen. "Nobody's hair looks like that." Dylan joined us on the couch, leaning against my shoulder. "Has she ranted about Prince Hans yet?" he asked. "The hair makes him dodgy," I replied. Dylan chuckled and gently held my hand. After the movie, Sophie changed into her pajamas, and Dylan tucked her in. He returned to the couch, where I flicked through TV channels. "I've got those songs stuck in my head," Dylan groaned. I started humming Let It Go, and he nudged me playfully. I nudged back, still humming. "Dude, stop it." "Make me," I teased. He did. But instead of escalating things, we shared a quiet, warm moment, holding hands, leaning into each other, enjoying each other's company. Suddenly, a voice called from the doorway. I knew it. We turned to see Sophie in her pajamas, pointing at us with a grin. "Sophie, I thought you were asleep?" Dylan exclaimed. Ignoring him, she began to sing. "Alec and Dylan up a tree, Kathy. First comes love, second comes marriage, third comes a baby in a golden carriage." I couldn't help laughing, and Dylan looked at me in disbelief, smiling. "Wait, can boys have babies?" Sophie asked innocently. "Sophie," Dylan said, tossing her a pillow. "Go to bed, please." "Okay. Good night, Dylan." "Good night, Dylan's boyfriend," she called, giggling as she left the living room. Dylan flopped sideways onto the couch beside me. "Mom is going to kill me," he muttered, his voice muffled. I ruffled his hair, making it stick up in every direction. "Guess you won't need to worry about telling her now," I said. "Let's just hope Sophie doesn't make up some elaborate story," he replied with a grin. We sat there for a while, watching TV, Dylan leaning comfortably against me. When the last show ended, he led me to his room. We both changed into our pajamas and climbed into bed, falling asleep quietly side by side. The next morning, I woke to find Dylan sprawled across me. I shifted gently so his weight wasn't entirely on top of me and checked my phone. It was 8:30. His face was buried against my chest, hair sticking up in every direction. A quiet knock came at the door before it slowly opened. Sophie peeked in. "Hey," I whispered. "Hi. Can you please come make breakfast?" she asked, glancing at Dylan. "Sure, just give me a minute." She smiled and quietly closed the door. I carefully untangled myself from Dylan without waking him, dressed in a t-shirt and shorts, and headed to the kitchen. Sophie followed, eyes sparkling with excitement. "What do you want for breakfast?" I asked. "Pancakes," she answered eagerly. "Pancakes coming right up," I replied. We mixed the batter together, and 15 minutes later, breakfast was nearly ready. I was plating the last pancake when Dylan walked in, sleepy and in his boxers. I nearly dropped the plate. "You made pancakes?" he asked. "I sure did. They're actually really good," added Sophie, shrugging proudly. Dylan chuckled and joined us at the table. We ate together, chatting and laughing. I told Dylan I wanted to head home afterward to see my mum, and he said he could drop me off after taking Sophie to school. The ride home was filled with Sophie's endless questions about me, my family, and our house. I promised her I'd come over again soon, then waved goodbye to both Dylan and Sophie before heading inside. Thanks for listening to today's BL story. If it made your heart skip a beat, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Only here on BL Stories, where love knows no limits.